How often do you use those sounds in your day-to-day life that you think that that's how you have to test the mic out?
I don't know if you know this, but every single time me and D-Mark get on the mic, that is literally what we do. So we sound good.
We gotta make sure the action noises sound right.
Ping, 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 ping.
The pows. Yeets.
Yeah, blacka, blacka, blacka.
So, interesting way I want to start this out. I saw this on the internet the other day, and I think that it's a tale as old as time. It's a debate as old as time. Is a hot dog a sandwich? Yes or no? Let's start with you. Let's start with you, Maui. Is a hot dog a sandwich?
100%.
What's your reasoning?
You have a piece of bread, and it is sliced in the middle. You insert, whether it be meat or non-meat products, and you just happen to eat it. No, you know what? Let me take it back. A hot dog's actually a taco, not a sandwich.
Nobody's ever in the entirety of this discussion. I don't think anybody's ever said a hot dog is a taco.
No, 100%.
No, I've actually said that I would concede that it would be a taco before it would be a sandwich.
Yeah.
Okay, so my take on this is that sandwiches have a width minimum. Because like if you take a girth min, like a girth min max, like like if you take a Subway sandwich like a foot long and you cut it into 5 lengthwise sections, it doesn't feel like a sandwich anymore. It just feels like a weird strip of like material. But if you cut it widthwise 5 ways, all of those are sandwiches. So I think that if you put 4 hot dogs on bread, sandwich. 1 hot dog, taco.
Is it?
Yeah, think about it. Because
I almost said, is it the direction you eat it? And then I thought, well,
why would you eat? What direction are you eating your sandwich in?
That's what I'm saying.
Do you not eat your hot dogs right down the middle?
I eat them from top down. I eat them like I go. You can't see it
like
on video.
Corn?
I go like corn on the cob all the way down. So you don't do that?
Oh, I mean that's actually the most efficient way to eat a hot dog.
So I get the whole bread and meat without having to get. I don't have to open my mouth up wide. I don't have to like deep throat a hot dog. I can just.
Actually, while we're talking about that, why the fuck when you order a sandwich, like why is it like just taller? When you get a bigger sandwich, why is it taller? Like my mouth only opens so high.
That's
like why I don't. Like a Big Mac. You know how fucking wide you have to open your mouth for a Big Mac?
Because a sandwich length, like it's harder to fuck with like hey, here's your bag of sandwich, and it's just like a Toblerone of meat.
I agree. I think it's a packaging issue. I don't feel like so if you go to a place and you're like it's a pound and a half patty, and you're like yeah. I don't want a pound and a half patty spread out like a steak burger from Steak and Shake.
What are you talking about?
Like
I need the BK. You know BK has the long sandwiches. Like they have like the long chicken.
Dumbest looking sandwiches ever.
They're the most efficient sandwich ever.
But they had to go out and do extra packaging stuff.
Right. It's a dimension issue. Like you can only fit like try to order 3 of those boys. Your bag don't look right. They all stacked on top. Nah. It's
Burger King's just trying to do anything wild to be relevant.
Right,
they're not doing it because it's the best idea. They're doing it because it was an idea.
But I do get what you're saying because like nothing's weirder than getting a sandwich and like it's so big that the only way you can eat it is like
in bites.
You take like 2 bites.
Are you swallowing every other food whole?
No, I mean like I have to take a top bite and a bottom bite just to enjoy the full sandwich.
Right. Yeah, you're not even tasting the whole sandwich. You're eating 2 different burgers.
Yeah, it's so much work to make sure you get an even bite.
No doubt. So.
That's America's way to end obesity. They're like, if it's inconvenient to eat this food, maybe people will order smaller food.
Every sandwich in a blister pack, like
if they did that, if I went anywhere and all of my food was in blister packs, and that's how I had to open it, I'd fucking go outside and eat grass before I continue to order food from anywhere.
That's how you combat obesity, right there, America. Do you know what? Go ahead.
Add more plastic. Fuck more turtles. Lose weight.
What?
Hold on. Run B-roll real quick. Run the intro.
Yeah, roll the intro.
I need a second to process all this.
You're on with Maui.
No relation to the trademark whatsoever.
D-Mark.
I don't believe in none of this.
And X.
Which, by the way, Dick Wolf is the best name ever.
And this is When Awesome Collides.
But this is When Awesome Collides. It is your boy Maui.
Lead that in.
Yeah, lead that shit in. It's your boy Maui with my boys D-Mark, X, holding it down here again.
Jamie over there on the technical side.
Dude, I always fucking forget to introduce Jamie.
What a rude bitch.
I mean, he's just in the background. Fuck him anyways.
Do you introduce like if you had like a maid or a butler or something, do you introduce them to guests?
Help? Ooh,
no, yeah.
We said we don't introduce the help.
I specifically did not say the help again because I got yelled at before. I'm asking a question. I don't have servants.
Can't even go 3 minutes without this dude saying something crazy and out of pocket.
Oh my God.
I don't have hired help, so I don't know what you're supposed to do. I don't know the
Slave
etiquette.
labor? Crazy.
That's crazy.
I haven't. Oh.
Yeah, we're off to a hot start here.
Side note.
Again,
A hot dog is considered a sandwich and a taco.
Oh, hybrid.
I refuse to accept it can be both. It can be one or the other, but it cannot be both.
Based on the definition of what a taco and a sandwich is, it's both.
Oh, well, see, I don't like that. I don't like empirical evidence to end this
doesn't even
debate.
seem
It's been raging
empirical.
too long. It's been raging too long.
oh yeah, you can't be more than one thing. What do you think you are? What do you think
you
you
pick
are?
a lane and you stay in it.
Yeah,
food.
that's it. You can never change. You can't be a little bit of nothing. That's the America I liked living in.
That's the America that we are currently living in. So, I mean, we have to
You can
abide
be
by the
one
rules. You can't be more than one.
Hot dogs are just food fluid.
Ooh, first off, that's gross. I get what you mean, but that sounds gross.
It does sound real
Like
grody.
liquidized hot dogs, I'm not for it. All right, so what we got on the docket today, Maui?
All right, so today we have an interesting topic. Today we're going to be talking about Dave Chappelle. In light with the current events, and he just released a new special, 846. We figured, you know what, it'd be a good time to talk about it. We can go right into it, but it's gonna be really interesting, with our 3 different backgrounds and see what we all get from a lot of his metaphors and stuff like that. Because I feel like he's pretty deep with his humor. Like, not only is it like surface funny, but if you really start thinking about things that he can get pretty deep. And I think either, what do you call it? He's pretty polarizing because either you hate him or you love him just because of his content.
I don't think anybody hates him.
He will tell you there's a whole group of people that hate him, but it's one specific group that doesn't like him.
I feel like even though like they're like, oh, I hate this guy, but he's hilarious. Like I don't.
But yeah, we're gonna talk about Dave Chappelle. So we'll talk about a little. So obviously we'll talk about the Chappelle show. Talk about how we liked it in different episodes, and we'll talk about some of his stand up. But yeah, we'll get to 846 stuff too. So actually, you want to pop it off?
Can you call 846 a stand up? By the way, I feel like I want a better name for it because while it's relevant and probably needed, it wasn't funny.
It was funny. It had its funny moments. It's
other than Candace Owens has a stinky pussy. There was
bitch.
pretty much that was the only joke. So his social commentary.
Yeah.
Still SC. No, stand up is SU. I don't know. It's late. I'm bad at that.
I feel you. But yeah, we can pop it off and like we'll get to 846 eventually. I want to talk about, but first things first, man. So when was the first time you guys like heard either Dave Chappelle? Was it Chappelle show? Was that your first introduction, or did you guys listen to stand up beforehand, or like Half Baked, or what?
Yeah, Half Baked was the first time I'd ever seen any of Dave Chappelle's stuff. I didn't actually enjoy the movie that much when I was younger. It's funny now because I watched the movie now and I'm like, this is hilarious. I don't know what younger me, didn't see in this. Obviously, it's the jokes became a little bit more relevant and things of that nature. But the first real exposure, beside just that movie was the Chappelle show. I think that's most people's introduction to Dave Chappelle at large. But yeah, that's when I first started, realizing that he's the funniest man who's ever created in history, and there will never be another comedian at the level at which he operates ever again.
What about you, X?
I think the first time I saw Dave Chappelle, because if we have any theme from this podcast at all, it's I wasn't allowed to watch things. So Robin Hood Men in Tights, I think, was actually the first time I saw Dave Chappelle. And I just remember as a kid thinking it was hilarious that he stopped to pump up his fucking Nikes right before they went into the fight. But yeah, I didn't have a lot of exposure to him almost at all until probably later teen years, like junior, senior in high school, just because again, I couldn't watch Comedy Central like at all. Like it wasn't really allowed on in my house. Stand-up comedy, other than Jerry Seinfeld and or Jeff Foxworthy, which, oh my God.
Real quick, I don't want to interrupt you, but
you just did.
I know.
But you're going to. That's fine.
I'm sorry,
I get it.
bro. Dude, I can't stand Seinfeld. I can't stand Seinfeld the person. The show is funny, but I can't stand Seinfeld.
His newest stand-up is funny as fuck on Netflix.
His delivery, bro, is the same. What's the deal with airline food? Have you been to New York today? I mean, really? Where did you see the things outside today? I mean, come on. That was all of Seinfeld's
out of
comedy.
all the Seinfeld references you could have used the one that everybody uses all the time.
Yeah, I figured,
You're boring.
I'm sorry, man.
In all
It's just
fairness,
easy to
though,
go to it.
He almost has $1 billion, and comedians in cars getting coffee is fantastic, and his newest stand-up is really good. His old stand-up's terrible.
I just wish that he would like change his delivery. It's like Meek Mill. He's like the Meek Mill of comedy. Just does not change his delivery.
One flow the entire
the entire thing.
In his new stand-up,
Is it?
his last two that he's done on Netflix are nothing like old
Way more
Seinfeld.
See, I might actually be interested in
His
in watching those.
his newest one is good. The one before that was still just I'm back at comedy, and it was really shitty. But the last one he just did is fantastic, and it's not like old Seinfeld at all.
Menage a trois. I feel like you have to be a certain type of person to be a menage a trois person. That's a Seinfeld joke. That's literally was from the show.
No, was it?
Yeah, it was.
Oh.
Yeah, it was the episode where like
it was probably just as funny as you said because I ain't laughing.
No,
at
yeah,
all.
it was not funny.
Yeah.
But that was his delivery. That's what Seinfeld's like. But continue, Xavier. I'm sorry.
That's all I was saying. I didn't have a whole lot of exposure to him like early on. So Robin Hood Men in Tights, and then he was in what the fuck was it? Nutty Professor. He was Reggie or whatever in Nutty Professor.
Oh damn, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, because he had the little pineapple top dreads on his head. Wow.
So more as an actor. I didn't really know Dave Chappelle as the comedian. I knew him as that, but I didn't have any actual reference material as Dave Chappelle the comedian. It was always Dave Chappelle the actor, which I think is probably opposite than what a lot of other people had.
So okay, so when you saw him and doing his stand up, you're like, oh shit! Not only is this dude funny in movies, but he actually tells really good fucking jokes also.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's impossible not to be a fan of Dave Chappelle just from, and a lot of people talk about it in the interviews or the Mark Twain thing that was on Netflix, which I could probably spend 6 hours talking about. But he's very intellectual, and you don't get that with a lot of comedians. It's very hard to come by somebody making something that's not funny, but it's just how they approach it. It's not necessarily that they're saying anything funny. They're just able to take subject material or sensitive, shit and turn it into something that everybody can kind of get behind and see as a united front kind of thing. And I think he does that a lot better than arguably, like D-Mark said earlier. I don't know if we'll ever have. It'd be dope if we have another Dave Chappelle, but I don't think we can have another Dave Chappelle from just a stand-up perspective.
The current climate and being able to be controversial and not being labeled a certain thing. But
the problem is you have to get funny. You have to be famous first.
Yeah.
Like you have to get to a level of uncancelable to where if he was shocking back then. Yeah. Now it's appalling. Right. But he's been shocking for so long that it's too late. You can't get rid of him. And I think that is going to suck for comedy in general going forward, just because it's going to take a special type of person to have that same, it's
almost like that respect, right?
Right. Well, and that's what it's not necessarily like saying the cool thing about when you watch, so for this, I didn't have a ton of time to do this, but I did watch his stand a couple of specials over again, just to kind of really, I guess, build a base of what I enjoyed about watching those stand-ups. And the best part about the best part about every joke is that it's a story, but the way he tells it, even if it weren't true, it doesn't matter if it's true or not. And I think that's the best part. Like, he'll tell you a story, and you're like, that probably didn't happen, but the way he tells it is so, you're like, this guy totally lived whatever he's telling us in this. When he tells you a story, a joke. Like the best part of when what was the one he did 2 years ago? The stand up he did 2 years ago or last year? My bad.
Jamie, can you look that up for us?
Could you look at what so the one he did last year? He literally said,
where he dressed up like a janitor.
Yes, which is honestly kind of the look. Like
the green jumps, green jumpsuit.
Yeah, green jumpsuit, John.
So that one actually, that's the one I took notes on. Sticks and Stones.
There you go, Sticks and Stones. So the cool thing about that one was that he said, "Hey, give me a word." And they were like, "Why does it give me a word?" He's like, "By the end of the show, I'm gonna work that word into that thing into a joke."
No, it was not Sticks and Stones. Jamie had to look that up.
It wasn't Sticks and Stones.
It was the one
it's
before
like
that.
Inequality. Or
there we go.
Something like that.
Yeah. The one that was 2 specials ago.
Yeah, it was 2 specials ago.
Yeah,
and then at the end of it, he literally was like, "Everybody, I forgot. You're yucking. You're enjoying yourself." And then he starts this joke. And at the end of the joke, he says the phrase that they said at the beginning of the show. And literally, he was like, "I told you I was gonna work it in." And I'm like, dude, that's incredible, because like he could have just come up with this story right now, or how cool it is to get a phrase, and then he was like, I already have the joke, I already have it made, but how do I work in this crazy phrase, this phrase into the thing? It's a certain the way he tells a story, the way he spins this yarn, the way he comes about it, and he looks like he enjoys himself. Like he never takes himself seriously, even if he does. I'm sure it's a craft. I'm sure he's out there banging it out, doing his thing. But the crazy part about it is that he feels like he's enjoying himself every time he does something, and it looks like he wouldn't do it if he didn't love it. Yeah. And that's infectious. Like when you see somebody who's really up there doing their thing, and like they're like, hey, this is me, take it or leave it, and you're like, oh, I'm with it. Like, I'm with it. Even if I don't think there's ever been a joke that hasn't landed. There have been a couple where I'm like, whatever. But that's just because the level of comedy I expect from him is so high that I'm like, that was a pretty okay joke. But it wasn't up to his standards, But yeah, no, it's interesting to watch because every time you watch a stand-up special, he gives you a little bit different vibe, a little bit different flow. Mm-hmm. But you can tell, like, it's a masterclass in, what a person would hope to be if they're going to, go into a profession like that. And I do hope that we do get something like that, going on. I hope that the next generation has a, Dave Chappelle, like, before then, the Eddie Murphys and the
Richard
Pryors and
George Carlin.
Right. Of those, oh man, you can never have another George Carlin. I can tell you that.
Nope.
But like, I hope that the next generation will find that and have that, because he shaped a lot of the way we see comedy today,
Yeah.
I also think I think it's great really quick when you watch him do shit. The last 4 or 5 stand-ups, he has 82 cigarettes and he just ashes all over the floor. The entire thing, he's like, what the fuck are you going to do? Kick me out? You paid to see me. And he just walks around the stage, just fucking no ashtray, no nothing. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, it's that kind of attitude where he's just like, what's the worst that's going to happen? I don't do this. I didn't do it once before and shit still turned out okay. So, I think his audacity, is what makes him fun to watch rather than listen to. I can listen to a lot of comics. I don't care to watch a lot of comics. I think watching Chappelle is a completely different experience than just listening to him, which I think is fantastic to have the same thing delivered 2 ways, and you get 2 different kind of experiences while doing it.
Yeah. No, so for me, so I want to say, like, I really enjoyed Chappelle and the Chappelle Show, and that kind of motivated me to go kind of see more of his stuff. And then when I did look into like some of his stuff, I remembered like, oh, I did see like a stand-up special of Dave Chappelle. I'm a stand-up comedy junkie, dude. I can just watch stand-up all day if I had to. But I watched some of his stand-up, well, one specifically a long time ago, and then obviously I remembered he was in Men in Tights, and then I remember that he was in How High, not How High,
Half Baked.
Yeah, Half Baked. Sorry. And then I was like, oh shit, I've been watching this nigga like fucking kill it in like either as a side comic relief or something in a movie, and I really enjoyed him. And then Chappelle's Show was just the next level. One of the things that I kind of what is it? I guess I don't want to say he's mysterious. I respect Dave Chappelle a lot. Mostly like you guys are saying, I think his attention to detail is second to none. You can tell a lot of his material is based off his life experiences. And if you were to go watch the Mark Twain special that is on Netflix, you kind of see like his kind of life story. They kind of talk about his background. They talk about his mother, and he kind of tells his story about like where he came from and stuff like that. And if you've been following Dave Chappelle's career, you'll be like, oh shit, all of the stuff he's been living through, or the lessons that he's learned over time, like his parents or his grandmother he mentions in that special, all kind of play a role into who the man he's become, but more importantly, his comedy. I don't want to necessarily ruin a lot of the jokes. I'm trying really hard not to, give you guys punchlines or a lot of like meat and potatoes of the jokes, so you guys can kind of go back if you guys haven't watched any of his stuff.
Or by the way, something that we, I apologize for interrupting you, but something that we've gotten feedback on is that we don't kind of tell people where they can go and watch a lot of this stuff. Netflix has a fair amount, if not all, of the specials that we're gonna be talking about on there. I honestly don't really know where you can watch Chappelle's Show anymore.
You can go get it on Comedy Central on Demand, and YouTube.
Well, obviously, YouTube. Or sell the high seas. We don't condone that, but do what you got to do to enjoy this content. But so
Spotify has. That's actually where I listen to 846.
Oh, that's
Spotify has all of his actual stand-ups on there. You have to go find it. I don't know how they uploaded it because he doesn't have his own artist page, but his stand-ups are uploaded to Spotify as well.
Nice.
Yep.
Oh, I didn't know that. What was I just talking about, bro?
You didn't want to give out any of the punchlines,
which we've already said before that if you come to our show not expecting spoilers, especially for shit that's been out for a long time, you probably came to the wrong place.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Ditto what they just said. But in the Mark Twain special, he was talking about how the very first set that he did with his mother and his grandmother were there to watch him. It was in a nightclub. I think he was like 14 and 15 years old. If you want to check that, Jamie, you can definitely check. But I think he was 14. His first stand-up. He said he was 14, 15 years old in this bar, and his grandmother and his mom took him there. And he went to his grandma, was like, "Hey, listen, grandma, I just want to let you know, I'm gonna say a bunch of stuff that you've never heard me say before." And then she just says, "Listen, you go up there and you fucking kill it, and don't worry about me." And like just to know that he had like undying support from the woman and the women in his family. And to be able to do things that probably would be frowned upon, right? Taking a kid to a nightclub.
It's 14.
Yeah. And they were just supporting his dream because he was like, you know what? Fuck it. I just want to do this. I think I'm funny. I like making people laugh. It's the greatest shit ever. And he talks about that in that special as well, that nothing's better than being up on stage and seeing everybody laughing or smiling or having a good time. It's just one of the joys that he can't explain to anybody. So not only was he kind of talks about, kind of growing up black and his life experiences and whatnot, which is all very reflective of his comedy, which kind of leads right into Chappelle's show. I think Chappelle's show is to black people what I believe South Park is to white people. And what I say that is that it parodies a lot of the black culture going up in a way that's kind of visceral and kind of we can kind of laugh about because, like, for example, Ashy Larry. Nigga was ashy as hell walking around.
It's kind of the funniest.
It's funny as hell,
things,
but we all knew like
a stupid ashy dude. I've been Ashy Larry a few times.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. Like you don't
I'm
notice
Ashy Larry right now. To be honest, I ain't put on no lotion, bro.
Chilling, and then all of a sudden you just look in the mirror.
And you're on camera now,
right?
so
You look in the mirror, and you be like,
bro.
Ashy Maui.
Are my knees literally just like 2 seconds away from one scrape from a fire? Like, come on, bro. Why you let me come out like this?
Right.
Yeah.
But
And I didn't even know the term ashy till I was like 15. And
I gave you lotion for the first time 3 years ago.
no, that's a joke. That's
nice.
a joke. But I already right. But that's what I'm saying. So him saying it parodies, black life and black culture and shit like that. It is a different experience watching it.
Right.
Because I think Ashy Larry's funny, and I understand obviously what it is now. But if you would have shown me that when I was a kid, I would have been like, "Where'd all the ash come from?"
Right.
And I just had a friend. I think I was in 8th grade, and he was complaining that his fucking elbows were ashy, and I'm like, what the fuck does that even mean? He goes, okay. And that's all he said. And he walked away from me. I'm like, what the fuck? What does he mean, okay? Like, how do you get ash on your elbows? And then he's like, no, dude, I need fucking lotion. I'm like, oh, I wouldn't have known.
Right. So like shit like that, like it's funny, but it's like that's a part like of the black culture going up. Like you just had, those niggas down the street that just happen to be ashy as hell.
Stupid
like,
ashy.
Play football, pick up football. You can go out there and like just, after a game of football, I mean, it is what it is. Like, grass and, it's hot and all that stuff. Like, so like, it's just little things like that. Like it just little stuff that somebody would just laugh at just at the very beginning. And then there's just so many more deeper meanings, to be able to back all that stuff. Kind of like South Park. So people have been trying to cancel South Park for forever. But I think as a unison, we all know like it's all like making fun of itself. It doesn't take itself seriously. The whole point of it is to kind of point out, like if you really look at it.
It's extreme. It's extreme satire.
Right.
Kind of the reason you can't cancel Robert Downey Jr. for Tropic Thunder. Because
no, they're trying.
They're trying, but they've been trying for a while, and they've taken everybody else down. But
it's my favorite. That's all you got to do. Hey, for actors, musicians out there, I'm gonna give you one quick tip. The easiest way to avoid being canceled is just say no. Hey, if you don't consent to the cancellation, you good. Like if somebody's like, hey, you said this like 10 years ago. Just look them in the eyes, go, cool. And just keep it moving. And they'll just sit there and they'll freak out. And they'll just be like, what's going on? I'm canceling you. And they'll be like, nah, not today. And then just keep it moving. Keep it pushing. Robert Downey Jr. literally, Now, like Jimmy Kimmel, handled the wrong way. He's like, I'm gonna take a vacation because I think I've wronged some people, so I'm gonna take a break.
Malone.
Right. Yeah. No, he should have just been like, yeah, look at all this money I got. What's up? Does Karl Malone want an apology? If not, then keep it pushing. Hey, little pro tip. Just say no.
But with that being said, I think
No means no.
even like I think us here, I think we do like a lot of the same stuff. Like we joke around about shit. Like we make fun of Xavier and we'll say like oh, we're going to get us canceled and blah, blah, blah. Even though he says a lot of offensive shit.
Yeah, I'm not joking.
Yeah, no. Yeah, what the fuck is this problem? But all jokes aside, we are making fun of things that we see every day. Like, yeah, you know, like if this motherfucker was actually racist, you think we'd fucking be hanging out with this dude?
I would.
Oh,
he actually might though.
That'd be funny.
Yeah,
I was
ironic.
Just to be up in his house. Like, he's just like, hey, get your old man. No, I was about to get us canceled. But yeah, like, you know. Yeah.
I realized we haven't had video online because we've been having issues with it. Soon to be fixed, but I was told, I'm going to say by a fan because it's somebody who doesn't know me and I want to feel important. But I was told when they saw me that I didn't look anything like what they expected. So I can only imagine sitting at home, people who have no idea who I am after listening to you guys being like, oh, you said the help. Oh, you almost said this or you almost said that. Being like, ooh, I can't wait to see what this motherfucker looks like. So I appreciate, you know, the racist painting you're making.
Hey, no problem. And then kind of to tie it back together, it's just kind of like when, you know, what is it? Who was the guy that was blind but also KKK member? Clayton Bigsby.
So great.
The greatest sketch, one of the greatest sketches.
Which he apparently made up a lot of those speeches and shit, which I didn't know, which is fantastic. Like, they didn't write those down. He would just go up there and
just riffing.
That makes it even better, bro.
What's the name of the crackhead character? When he was sitting there yelling at the kids and he's like...
Tyrone Biggums.
Yeah, Tyrone Biggums.
He's like, dog food tastes exactly like it smells. Delicious. That was all made up. Yep. That wasn't written down. He just said, fuck it. And then he just started saying shit. And they're like, I guess it's good. We can keep going now.
Let me tell you something, Joe Rogan. I smoke crack.
That's such a good thing when he's laying down in the Fear Factor thing. Mm-hmm. And what was it, like worms or some shit? And he's like, let me get my newspaper so I can take a nap. And then he has them bring him an extra newspaper. And then he just goes to sleep. And they're like, you can get out now. He's like, I don't think I will, Joe Rogan.
No. Oh, why? Why I gotta leave, Joe Rogan?
That's what Joe Rogan should do on one of his podcasts is have fucking Tyrone Biggums
on it.
Be a guest.
Oh, man, that'd be the greatest shit of all time.
Like when Charlemagne interviewed fucking Uncle Ruckus.
Oh, I do remember that. Yeah, that
I
was
didn't see that.
What?
Oh, no, I didn't see that.
My
Yeah.
God. If nobody's seen this, it's The Breakfast Club. Just type in Breakfast Club, Uncle Ruckus. You're welcome in advance. It's really a year old. Keep that in mind that I'm supporting it from a year ago. I don't remember everything that was said in it.
Yeah, it's a fun listen.
No, X is only pushing it because he 100% agrees with all of what Uncle Ruckus has to say.
That's fair, right?
Jamie showed it to me first off, so like.
I don't understand. Like, is that supposed to be like a pass? Like, I love how white people do that shit.
That's the pass.
White people are like, but my black friend said it's okay, so it must be fine.
That is true. They do that.
Like, oh yeah, it's just like
I can't hate gay people. I thought that guy was attractive at one point.
Oh man,
what?
See, we got
you haven't. No, when people are like, I can say a man's good looking, so I'm not a homophobe. It's just nope.
What a weird
Come
way
on,
to do
bro.
that.
That's just a weird transition. 100%.
It's the same thing. I got a black friend. I got a gay friend.
Transition.
But I do enjoy how he makes light of social issues. And the great thing about doing this episode is that you can kind of, I don't know, is it because I'm more socially aware than I was before. Obviously, when a lot of this stuff was going on, like Chappelle Show and whatnot, what were we, like fucking 16, 17, 18?
Younger than that. Chappelle Show came out like 2002, 2003.
That's right. About 14 around there.
Middle school.
What I'm talking about when all that shit was hitting hard, like when Chappelle Show's at its peak and you know, he was doing his stand-up and all that shit. And Jamie always walks away when I'm talking about some shit I don't know.
Insane.
Always.
Every time. Jamie, can you left?
What don't you know?
When that shit came, like when Chappelle started like really taking off, like let's say like season 2 of Chappelle Show,
2003, 2004.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What? Really?
Yes.
I don't think that's right.
I just rewatched the Mark Twain thing today. Chappelle Show came on in 2003, so season 4 would have been, or season 2 would have been right around end of 3, early 4.
Wrong. That's crazy.
Okay. Yeah.
Wow. Time is just as a facsimile.
We have that on tape. I'm not wrong.
No, that's awesome. I'm glad you were right for one time in your life.
Yeah,
but
man. We all got to get one. Everybody gets one.
Everybody gets one. Just isn't that right, Spider-Man? A lot of that stuff you look back and so like when he's talking in 846 and he's talking about like I want somebody to call me out, Mr. Lemon. Is it Don Lemon? Is that his name?
Don Lemon.
Yeah. Call me out, Dom Lemon, because like he has been making light of social issues from the very beginning. Every single stand-up, every single Chappelle show, like he makes fun of this stuff, but it's all shit that's going down. Like it's all real shit, you know. So I actually So like I said, I took some notes on, there is a Netflix special. I think it's the second one, not the one that D-Mark was talking about, but it's called Sticks and Stones. And for example, in the first minute, like I want to say the first 5 minutes, he's talking about Anthony Bourdain. And he talks. Yeah. So he talks about how this man, and it's really true, this man had the best job in the world, arguably. Where he went around, met famous people, had a conversation with them, and ate great food in random places around the world. Rich. Man was living a lot of people's dream life, and he killed himself. But there was a guy who he was from the hood, and not to ruin, like I said, the special. He was from the hood, made it out the hood, went into Ivy League school, and he met a chick in college. And you know, Dave makes a joke like, you know, like save her for later in your life, nigga. Trust me. But he's like, nah, I love her. And he got married. They got divorced. And he's like, so he went from being a person that got out of the hood, made it to Ivy League school, got a divorce, ruined his life, and was now working at Foot Locker, 40 years old, living with his mom, and he didn't kill himself. So he's trying to make a point that you can look at somebody and they're living like a magnificent life, but they're miserable. Whereas somebody that you would think should be miserable or it's been dealt a bad hand didn't even think about killing himself. You know what I'm saying? So he makes light of that kind of stuff, but again, he's always making social commentary. He makes fun of it or he makes a joke out of it, but he's talking about some real shit if you dig into it that's really relatable. And that's everything. Chappelle Show, all his stand-up, there's not anything you can pick at that he's not making fantastic points, especially from people of color's perspective.
But sometimes people get sick of food. Nobody ever gets sick of discounts on shoes.
What? Hold on.
I tried to laugh through that one. I'll be honest, but I'm glad you said something.
One, but you know what? Hey, making light.
If we're talking about
Topical.
Dave Chappelle, the only thing that I think is just say even more terrible.
That's fair. No, I get it, man. Just lean right into it.
That's why
you'll never be Dave Chappelle. You don't understand comedy. Like,
it's all about comedic timing, and you have none.
Nah, you just wait. You just Blueface. You're the Blueface of comedy.
Yeah.
But Blueface got a ton of money, so I mean, if I gotta be the Blueface of comedy, I'll take
fair.
it.
He actually has one of the worst record deals of all time.
I mean, but he still got some money in his pocket.
Do you have as much money as Blueface?
That's reductive.
But I'm also really broke, so that's really fucked. That's a really fucked up thing to say, actually.
Talent doesn't like how much money someone makes. Still doesn't necessitate a talent.
I didn't say it does. I would just like to have more money than I do now, and he's
fair.
fucking awful. And he has
it's awful. That's I don't know about that, bro. Have you listened to Tatiana?
That's a definition.
Tatiana.
That's a definition of awful.
I mean, Blueface is great. So he used to ride the bus now.
Ooh,
and now he wears bus downs.
You know what I'm saying?
You see? And he was just talking shit about lyrics. Look at that. It'd be
I said I
people.
think he's bad, but how do I know he's bad if I don't know about him?
But you just knew a lyric, like you being, banging it.
It was. It just further solidifies my points.
That you like him?
He now wears bust downs. He sucks, but he still has money. So the whole point is you can suck, but as long as you get paid to suck, then you're good.
Oh, hey, okay.
Hey. Speaking of that,
progressive.
Go to onlyfans.com/WhenAw3someCollides. We don't suck, but we need some money. So
let's go.
Yes, sir.
We actually are pretty soon. I know this is completely unrelated, but we are going to start uploading to our OnlyFans pretty soon. Some behind the scenes stuff and some topics that are a little bit too spicy that we can't put on the normal playlist, if you will. So keep in mind, bear with us. It is free to join our OnlyFans.
Free to subscribe?
Yeah, didn't you make it free for like the next week?
Oh. I mean, it can be. I thought it was $100.
No, it's free for the next week. So hurry up right now. Subscribe right now.
All right, cool.
Yeah. So after that, back to $100. Yeah. But so please, you'll help us support us, help us make content. We're trying to make this happen. Again, we're gonna make it worth your while. Trust us, stay with us.
Take pics for free sometimes.
You know what I'm saying? Xavier's
Fridays.
Xavier's butthole is definitely the first thing on the menu.
Definitely.
So stay tuned to that.
Perfect wording.
Yeah, on the menu. But yeah, like I said, I just wanted to plug the OnlyFans. But yeah, keep it going. My bad. Let me run it back.
No, you good.
Yeah.
But what are some of your favorite episodes? I mean, as far as Chappelle Show, like what are some of the most memorable ones that really sticks out to you and why?
One of the best. See, the problem with when I talk about Chappelle Show, I don't think of it as episodic. I think of each skit, even if like the skits where even if you put 45 skits in an episode, I don't care if it's episode 1 or episode 100. The one of the funniest ones is where where the cops go to the guy's house. So this actually goes back to a lot of what you say about how he's able to make light or make fun of super serious issues and how funny it is to see the reaction depending on background. Like for me, the reason why this is my favorite, one of my favorite skits, is because I'm literally like, I could see that actually being what somebody says. Like when they go to where he reports the robbery at his house, and the cops come there, and they're like, oh, I can't believe this. I can't believe this black guy broke into this house and put pictures of himself all over the dude's house. And it's like, no, this is my house, and he's still here. Like, you know, like that one. I'm like, like it's super funny because the reason why I was laughing so hard because I'm like, that sounds exactly like some stuff would happen if you're black and you look at a place. You know what I'm saying? You could call in your own a robbery at your own house and still be a suspect, and that's like I think that just kind of goes more to what you're talking about, where he takes a situation that's completely relatable to. I think comedy is a very powerful tool. Mm-hmm. So he takes something that is day-to-day life for some of us and makes it so hyperbolic. Like, you know, I know you guys, one of the things you said about me is I speak in hyperbole a lot, but I think watching South Park and things like that is the reason why I've done it that way. If you can make something outrageous to somebody, that's how the best way to describe how I see something. Like if somebody, you know, so Chappelle's like, you know, the whole race draft was so funny to me. It's such a good episode, not only because of the content of it, but what it meant from behind the scenes, where it's like literally, it to me, it became more of a commentary on what defines race in general. Like, I know that sounds completely weird, like to take out of it, but like one of the hardest part about for me when I was younger growing up is that it was very stereotypical, you know, like when you're from, you know, a less than desirable area, you know, just simple things like education and reading and success in school is labeled as white people things, you know. So it's super funny that like to have to go through so much of that where they're like, hey, oh, you're reading a book. Like, can't remember, like 3rd and 4th grade were wild times. 3rd grade, like I was reading a book and dude comes like, oh, you always doing that white people shit reading. And I was like, huh? He's like, yeah, you always learning, man. You better cut that out. And I'm like, what? Like, I guess I get, so to learn, I got to be white. And then like that draft episode happened. And I'm like, that's super funny because they're like, hey, we're going to trade this race for this race, whatever. And I'm like, well, to me, it was more of a social commentary on what defines race. And that's why I always thought that was a super funny one, not just because the content was funny, but them deciding who belongs to what race based on whatever criteria, you know, whatever they deem races decide on. I feel like that is so much more topical for today. Oh yeah, because that's one of the most complicated. It's one of the reasons why I quit a lot of social media is because there's nothing more taxing than you can do this and be one race, but if another race is doing this, they can't do it. It's like, you know, appropriation, like, you know, they say cultural appropriation is one of the most tiring subjects in history because you can literally see somebody say something as cultural appropriation, go to their timeline like 3 days ago and see them talking about that same thing in a positive light. Yeah. And I'm like, see, this is why.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
And I know it's a little off topic, but it's bound to happen. Do you think one race trying to emulate, and I'll say cultural appropriation, but that's usually used negatively.
I mean, you can still say that. It's still accurate.
It isn't. I mean, it is and it isn't. I mean, I think emulation versus appropriation are two very different.
I think they're super different, and that's actually
but the whole thing is just like you talk, and it's been popping up a lot lately, like you call black people an Oreo, right? Like you're like, oh, you black on the outside, but you white on the inside. And you're like, when I was like 9 or 10, you say that to people because you don't know, I didn't, not you, sorry, I can't say that, but that's been said a ton of times. Yeah. But then the whole, you know, white people trying to act like black people, and you know,
it's the super funniest thing. It's literally the funniest thing. That's actually part of the what I'm talking about, where it's so exhausting to be like,
well, that's what I'm saying though. I don't understand. Like, I guess not that I don't understand. It's I don't necessarily agree with somebody emulating the things that they see and they like, and then getting shit all over for wanting to do those things. Everybody's like, you can't culturally appropriate. You've got to stay in your lane. And to me, that just seems counterproductive
and tiring. Yeah. Like it's what I'll say. It's one of like, you know, when all of your media, like that's a tricky conversation. We could go, if we get on this tangent, I could get, it goes a whole different direction.
Let's say for the OnlyFans.
But I just, it popped into my head. So I wanted to ask a question.
But no doubt.
But no, that's fair.
But that's that's one of the cool things about Chappelle and things of that nature. Like when you listen to, I know we're talking about Chappelle's show right now, but like every episode of Chappelle's show,
they should just re-air it at this point is like new shit for all the people who never saw it before. Cause I think it still is incredibly applicable
it's
for
still fantastic. Yeah.
But I think it's even more applicable for today than it was
back then. I would actually agree. With how
I think back then it was satire and it was funny and it was in your face kind of
the
shit.
Onion. It's like the Onion effect, where the Onion was a joke. Like the Onion was a satirical website 10 years ago. Now it's just news.
Or Idiocracy. You go and they're like, the plants want electrolytes.
Right, and then now
it's just like we should probably give our grass some Gatorade.
Camacho,
it's looking pretty bad.
Right, Camacho was a reality TV star and became president, and we got that, and we got a totally unqualified person who was just good at TV. And now he's the president. It would be true now. It would just, if Chappelle show now.
I would love to water my grass with Gatorade, though.
That would be cool.
I want to do that.
Yeah.
We, the people of the black delegation, would like to drive the Wu-Tang Clan. Was my favorite part.
No, that was the Asian delegation did that.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
The blacks got the first pick, and they got Tiger Woods.
Yeah, they got Tiger Woods.
Mm-hmm. Then the Jewish.
The Wu-Tang Clan. Oh my God. The entire Wu-Tang Clan, the Asian delegation with the surprise of the draft. It was my favorite, bro. I love it so much.
Series, dude.
Yeah.
Like when he plays the reporter, that white reporter.
I was going to say, there's people out there, if they saw that, they'd be like, how come he's allowed to do whiteface, but we're not allowed to do blackface? It's the same thing.
You know what? They would have a point, but you know what? One is fine and one's not. I didn't make the rules. I just enforce the ones that benefit me, But yeah, that's what. But yeah, dude, there's so many good man. Like for a lot of you younger guys, younger people out there, you guys don't remember making the band, but
oh man, I'm shutting down the studio.
Breast milk, you made my day.
Oh, it's my favorite.
There's so much good stuff in that show.
Is it Chappelle's show that I'm gonna piss on you thing where he's making fun of R. Kelly?
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
it's the fucking toilet seats on all those people.
The reparations episode.
All the people get money.
Reparations. And all the businesses are like, "Ooh, we like black people now. Give me your money." And they're like, "Ah."
He said, "Where'd you get this baby from?" I just bought it.
Buy me some cigarettes. I'm rich, bitch. Oh man!
Yeah, one of the most memorable lines of all. I would say of that time was like the two the Rick James episode and
fuck your couch,
right? And that line right there, the "I'm rich, bitch" line.
Yeah,
like there's it's zeitgeist worthy. Like that show was it changed a lot of what we see as comedy now and how shows work. I can't tell you watching the DC the Mark Twain thing was great just to see like. It's good to see that Dave Chappelle show, Dave stand up, Dave real life, they're all the same person. Mm-hmm. That's a great feeling to see. Like everybody's telling stories. I'm like, that sounds like a sketch in his show. Like he is this. The Dave.
Well, Neil Brennan said it in that special. He goes, it was a really cool thing to watch because you got to see Dave be his full self. And it was exemplified on screen. It's there forever. And it was one of the best, he's like color commentaries, like social commentary on what it was like to be black and what it was like. So
for people of color commentary.
There you go. We're going to fix you. You good.
Yeah, you got it.
That's racist.
We're going to get you now. We're going to get you taught up.
They're not called collared people.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's an Office joke for all the people that don't watch Office other than Jamie. He laughed a little bit. But
yeah, you see all the black people didn't laugh. Yeah, we just
except for Jamie.
Except Jamie.
Jamie laughed.
So literally 50% of them did because
how is that 50%?
Because you're not black.
Wow.
That's a tricky one.
According to the police.
I will say that's true. If you're
black.
If you're not white, you're black.
No, that is fair.
Yeah,
I just want to know what rules we're playing.
Well, I'm really happy that
66% of black people enjoy The Office.
33%.
33%.
66% of black people don't like The Office. 33%, much like Stanley was in that show, 33% of black people enjoy The Office.
That's fair.
Speaking of this reminds me about my favorite Dave Chappelle show episode, and that's when he has Who's the nigga with the guitar? He's he
Jamie,
plays the guitar.
will you type that in for me?
Real
Just
sexy,
like
that
exact words.
On my browser history.
Guitar playing man. John Mayer, everybody is a guy. See, very, very, very sexy guitar player.
That's all you had to say. Sexy guitar player.
You saw immediately. I understood.
Mayer,
I was like, oh yeah, John Mayer, yeah. But he's like, all right, so I'm gonna make a test. You're going to the barbershop, and he's like, we're gonna have John Mayer play some guitar. So before John Mayer was in the barbershop, he was like, I think in the field with some white people, and he started playing his guitar, and they were like, oh shit. He's like, there he is. There's the white people. There they go. They can't help with the guitar. But he goes into the barbershop and he starts doing like a little riff, and the barber's like, hey,
riff.
Rough?
No T.
Oh, riff.
Rift is like a tear.
Yeah, riff is
like a guitar.
Oh, okay. Thanks for clarifying.
Yeah, no doubt.
New York public school system did me a great injustice.
Yeah, is that right? By that sentence,
is that right?
Yeah, that was tough.
All right, cool. Just want to make sure.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
You're
Back when we were eating our hot dog tacos and our bags of milk.
Am I from Canada? Is that
Did you not have bags of milk in New York?
I did not live upstate. You
lived in upstate New York.
I was all the north. Like so many people I talked to that have lived
in Canada
in the Northeast. Period. A lot of them had bagged milk. So I was asking.
Yeah,
when you say the New York public school system.
Yeah, New York City.
But I didn't know if you guys also had bagged milk.
No, you lived in the Canada part of America.
Yeah, no. I lived in New York. You lived in Canada, New York.
But I've talked to other people that are from all over New York and like
New York City.
Oh, that's why I asked you if you also had bagged milk.
And he said no, but you kept trying to convince him that.
No, because he keeps telling me I lived in Canada, and I'm like, no,
I did live in Canada.
I lived an hour and a half away from Canada.
So did you have bagged milk or not?
Boom.
I did have bagged milk.
There you go. Canada.
Oh, Canada.
What is bagged milk?
What?
I'm just doing. What is bagged milk? I've never.
So in Canada,
so it's literally a plastic bag
filled with milk.
So think of a Capri Sun, how
Instead
you would
of
take
carton.
the straw and you would stick it through the little perforated top thing in the pouch.
That signifies like higher class.
No, that's just how they did things.
That's just how they did it.
Like
he was saying the New York
but-
public. He said the New York public school system failed him, and I was just saying, well, obviously because they gave you milk in bags.
Oh,
and I was trying.
You got the bag milk.
I was trying to find common ground, but I fucked it up again.
Now we're bust down.
So to get it straight, is Xavier the only one who's had bagged milk here?
Yeah, and I've had bagged milk.
You've had bagged milk?
Well, he also lived in Alaska, which is pretty much like far Canada.
Right. It's like northern. It's
I feel like Alaska should be more Canadian than New York.
No, it's the same, except
what? No,
you can get to New York without going through Canada. You cannot get to Alaska without, if you stay on the land, going through Canada.
But you can just drive from Buffalo. It's like a 20-second drive to Canada.
Not from Watertown.
I don't even know what
Buffalo?
that is.
Is Watertown in Buffalo?
Nope, it's 3 hours north of Buffalo.
You've got the weirdest logic I've ever heard ever. It's like, Canada is right close to to Mexico if you just go through America.
Alaska is way more Canada than fucking upstate New York. That's 2 minutes away.
Let's run it back. Let's bring us back.
Yeah, I even forgot what the fuck I was saying. God damn it! Oh yeah, John Mayer playing his guitar, and so he's playing the guitar in the barbershop, and the guy's like, "Hey, can you shut the fuck up?" And it kills me just because he was like, yeah, that's about what I expected to happen. He's like, let's try this. And he pulls out the dude from the Roots playing the drums.
Oh, yep.
And he's like, boom, boom, boom. And the guy's like, oh, shit. And he's like, let's go. And they start freestyling. Oh, man, it kills me every time. But that's also like facts. Like, yo, we want to hear the bass. We want to do our thing. And it was just, and then you also got the greatest freestyle of all time, the Oops Pal Surprise.
Oops Pal Surprise. Yes.
I battle any sex or any race. You beating me is like some Billy Crystal playing Scarface. I can't see it. Blind to the eyes. Come up in your face. Oops, Pal Surprise.
Yes.
It's my favorite, bro. As you can see,
you can still remember that is impressive. Yeah.
Me and my friends used to rap together all the time. Like back in middle school, we were like, I battle any sex or any race. And like anytime, like whenever there was a battle, we just jump in with the Oops Pal Surprise. You kill it. It was great.
That doesn't.
No, you can't come back from that. Who else got a better rap? Oh, well, if you.
No. I'm not saying better rap. I'm just saying it. Just never mind.
If you quoted B Rabbit, then yeah, that'd be the only person that can beat you. Like beat that rap would be like quoting 8 Mile, which is also not fair. So.
Well, that's true. Like, so this is completely unrelated. We in 8th grade, we did a talent show, and everybody, man, they did their best. They worked hard. There were some cool things. Then the last dude came on, bro, and all of a sudden you hear, His soul's a wait, what? How did the beginning?
You got one
hands
shot.
are shaking. Something.
Yeah, knees weak, arms are heavy. There's vomit on his sweater already. I was like, oh, it's over.
Yeah,
like literally
Everybody.
the movie had just come out. Like literally, a dude was juggling fire. Like a dude was like, he lit some tennis balls on fire. He's juggling, bro. Like big.
Bow, bow, bow. See how?
He did that. I feel like you did that on purpose just to prove that your stupid fucking mic check had a purpose. Like you thought it's like how you said Dave Chappelle took the line at the beginning of the fucking thing and he was gonna work it in. You're like, how am I gonna
You already know.
That's how into this fucking episode?
I love it. You see how this is what comedic timing is. We didn't plan this. We just fell off each other. See, you taking notes? This is how you make jokes. See how we all laughed and no one just looked at each other awkwardly?
Dude came in like bing, bing, bing. And they're like, hey, throw a little chainsaw in there, like, room, room. You know what I'm saying? I was like, damn, he really, hey, bro. Just crazy dude in a wheelchair
But
juggling
somebody
flaming
rapping Eminem's.
It was over, bro. He took the crown. He took it started and the principal walked out. The principal was like, ain't no point. Let me get this dude his sash.
Was it like the house band at the bar doing it on the country version of it like last night?
What?
You don't remember that? We have a
Bro,
video.
we
of
were
it.
there for 8 hours. I don't remember much.
What do you got?
The house band at the bar decided at one point that they were going to do Lose Yourself. But it was like,
hey, wow, full circle.
I love it.
It was.
That was the most hyped the bar.
Yeah, it was pretty good. It was there.
That is.
The white people enjoyed
that
the mess
might
out of
have
that.
been-
That makes
It
sense.
was incredible.
Yeah.
That was the white people Chappelle show.
Yeah. I will say, look, not to keep on being off topic, but white people supported the shit out of Eminem, bro. They're like, this is our guy.
He did it,
We
man.
we gotta support him. And bro, they propelled that man to number one.
This is
I think maybe he did it a little bit himself.
what's the baseball dude? Bo Jackson? Nah.
He did play
What's the
baseball.
baseball dude?
Which one?
the black
Sammy
dude.
Sosa.
No, the first black dude.
Jackie
Robinson.
Robinson.
Yeah,
Number 42.
45.
Hey, Bo Jackson.
Eminem is the white people.
Well, Bo
Jackie
Jackson
Robinson.
just did two things at once.
Yeah, he did it, bro.
Is he?
Yeah, he did it, bro.
I
respect.
Nah, not the Beastie Boys. They ain't that. It's not the same thing.
You know, I wish he was the person. I wish Paul Wall was the person that was champion.
Paul, we got to get this show back on the road because
No,
I can talk
please,
about.
can we talk
We
about
just do
Paul
a
real
whole
quick?
episode about Paul Wall.
Yeah.
Bro, he said, "Oh my God.
Hit it.
Bro, nah, I ain't gonna do it. I ain't gonna.
We gotta talk about grills. We gotta do it. Go ahead. Smile for me, daddy.
Now, what you looking at?
Hey, I wanna see your grill.
You wanna see my what?
Hey, yo,
Your grill. Your grill.
Round the jewelry store and tell them make me a grill. She said.
Oh man,
Yeah, got them yellows, got them purples, got
them reds.
Hey.
Lights gon' hit and make you woozy in the head. Yeah, you can catch me in my too short drop. Mouth got colors like a Fruit Loom box. What it do in a Lou ice grill country? Okay, I can do this all. Nah, we ain't doing Let's bring it back around. We just wasted like 24 minutes talking about. Yeah, but so yeah, so
Fail show.
yeah, no, so there was a ton of good, man. That was a cool little interlude.
Are you fucking kidding me?
So for everybody at home,
I'm so sorry, bro.
Maui literally just spit
I'm
an
wearing a
entire,
white shirt
just spit an entire beer.
all over our recording equipment and all over me.
But to bring it back around while
he
he
get it on
recovers, of course it's on me. But to bring it back around,
I'm so sorry,
I smell
bro.
like orange Dilla so bad right now. But yeah, so Chappelle Show is it's a great endeavor. It was a cool little banger. Bro, he is dying.
He's crying.
So
Yeah, keep going, please.
You're crying. You're sitting there crying and you're asking us to keep going.
So we're probably gonna take this out of the audio version, but we're definitely leave this in on the YouTube version.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Yeah. So, yeah. So it's I'm thrown off when we
my bad, bro.
Bink, bink, bink. So when so Jamie, could you assist us in getting us back on topic?
What are you talking about?
Chappelle Show is great.
Yeah, Chappelle Show it's a pretty good show. It's a really good show. It was culturally it's a part of the zeitgeist now. So the stand-ups though, I enjoyed. The problem with talking about the Chappelle Show without having to without rewatching everything is that we're kind of going off of like more of a nostalgia, like what we, things that we enjoyed about, like specific parts of the show. The things about the most recent stand-ups that I think it's a little bit easier for me to talk about is because they're relevant. They're now. Yeah, the Sticks and Stones stand-up special is probably, I'd have to say, probably the best stand-up special I've seen in the last decade.
That's the 2019 one, right?
2019, the green
jumpsuit.
The green jumpsuit boy.
Yeah, so the one where he's talking about Anthony Bourdain.
It's incredible, man. Everything, every single joke. The cool. So,
and not to interrupt real quick, I just want to mention this. When he dropped that, it was the absolute worst time for him to drop that because everything was so spicy. Everything was so PC.
It was the best time.
The worst time, and when I say that, because no other comedian wanted to be raunchy or push the envelope, and he said, "No, son, this is stand-up comedy, and I don't care." He even had, I think, like a 0% in Rotten Tomatoes. Like,
no, it had a 0% critic score.
Yeah,
but it had a 100% audience score, which is the important part.
It has a record for the biggest difference between audience and critic score,
and that's what,
which is great. I just want to point that out.
So you all, you know me, I'm about to say something real spicy hot take.
Hot take city.
If there's one way I know I'm going to enjoy something, I go on Rotten Tomatoes, I look at the critic score, and then I go on YouTube and I type in blank review, and then if the first thing comes up is an SJW hating it, I know they're gonna slap. Because at first they're like, "Hey, Chappelle came out with a new special." They got like a 0 on Rotten Tomatoes. Like, 0? What?
Gonna be spicy,
bro. What? Hey, what happened? And I go, and the first thing that happens is making fun of people who are different than you is not comedy. I was like, oh my god, this thing's gonna bang. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
in all fairness, that's actually the definition, I think, of stand-up comedy is making fun of other people.
Right, making fun of people who are different than you is the funniest thing that you can do. But the cool thing about, I think one of the things that I enjoy so much is that it's not, but it's the fact that people can think that he's making fun of people maliciously. I've never understood that. The only reason I think that they do that is because people don't like to, like you said, it was a bad time for him to put it out, because we've gotten to a echo chamber where if you say anything spicy to somebody, they've got 12 people in their circle who will say, "Yeah, that's bad. You should say something to them." And then they say something to you, but okay, I'm not gonna do anything about it. But they've never been faced with a no. Like, they hear, if somebody's like, "I don't like this thing, get rid of it," the internet will get rid of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the power of today's, you never have to face adversity. So like when he put that out and they're like, "Oh my God, I can't believe it." I was like, man, I gotta really listen. Like, maybe he really did go off the wall. And you listen, I'm cackling the entire time. And everything, I'm like, how do people not find this funny? He touched on so much in that one special that you can't tell me you've been laughing for 45 minutes of a special, hear one joke that you didn't enjoy, and it dropped your 100% rating to a 0. You're telling me he can talk for the entire day.
I actually know somebody that said that if it wasn't for like the LGBTQ jokes, it would have been a perfect stand-up. But that was insane. A huge turn.
But that's what I'm saying. That's crazy that you can hear you. It's funny to, how could you hear something so funny as long as it doesn't make fun of you? That's crazy. Like,
so I don't mean to interrupt.
No, go ahead, man. Yeah,
I want to touch on this because I took a lot of notes specifically on that one, which is great because he talked about a lot of different things. Mm-hmm. So I actually spoke about this earlier, and
it was before you spit all that stuff over.
Yeah, before I spit the stuff all over the table on you guys. I do want to apologize
drink my
about that.
Now,
I mean, you can.
If you check OnlyFans, there'll be more spitting.
I didn't suck no dick today, so you good.
That's fair.
Yeah,
that's fair.
So,
well, then why would I want it?
Yeah. Oh, after
right.
There's no nutritional value if there's not
no protein in it.
Yeah, you're right. No, you're right. But I want to talk about this specifically. So one thing that we kind of lost in society is that, one, it's okay somebody disagrees with you, but two is the key part about communication is that no one should tell you how you feel. Because I said something, it does not necessarily mean that because you get offended, like I'm supposed to be like, oh, like fucking like, oh, eat it. Like, no, you are allowed to receive information however you want. If someone says something that offends you, you're allowed to say, I don't like that, which is great because that way we can say, oh, I now know this.
Right.
I can either apologize, or I can say, eat a dick, nigga, and keep it moving.
Right? As a great philosopher once said, suck my dick.
Who was that? Who was a great philosopher?
That was me being you.
Oh, okay, yeah. Because I am the modern day Plato. Again, just want to emphasize that. But that's the thing that everybody
modern
loses.
Day Plato.
I'm modern day Plato. Yeah. That's the one thing that we kind of lose is that Dave Chappelle. What makes him so fucking phenomenal is that he can take a topic that you're not supposed to talk about, and he's actually empowering the people in the same way. So, for example, that episode, he talks about LGBTQ, right?
Oh, what the?
Sorry, LGBTQ+. He's talking about them, right? And he's making a joke about it, but it's the same jokes that you hear if you're in that community, right? And he actually touches on that specific thing, as people like get mad because he talks about transgenders. He's like, I can't stop making jokes about these niggas, like, and it's funny, but it's the one thing that's not funny is that, and I shouldn't say it's not funny. He's upset because people are taking offense to what he's saying, even though he doesn't mean them maliciously. But the problem is that you cannot tell somebody how to feel. You can't tell somebody how to feel. If they take something and they're offended, that's fine. They're allowed to it. But the thing is that you have to kind of come together and talk about what offended me. And if you listen real quick, if you listen to Dave Chappelle in that specific skit, he's talking about their problems and their issues and making light of them. Some people are just so obtuse, they don't even get it. They don't even get that he's talking about, like, this is the problems that they face in that community. They just see like, oh, how dare he talk about like things in this visceral manner, but it's to captivate you. So you understand what you're saying.
I don't even think it's...
I think it's because they themselves speak in a malicious manner.
Yeah.
So what I mean by that is like,
that.
Right. But no, what I mean is like, if you say a joke and it's like, if you say a joke, if you can laugh at the entire thing except for that one part, that means that you yourself were laughing at the other parts maliciously.
The not good part.
Right. Like you were like, hey, if you listened to 30 minutes of it and it was all funny, then you heard the one thing you didn't like, that means you were laughing not with, so there's a difference between laughing with and at it.
You're laughing at people and not at
when you're laughing at with a joke, you're like, oh man, that was a great joke. I love it. It was great. But that means you were laughing at the things that you heard before. So if you can hear that one part and not enjoy the entire thing, that means you were laughing at the material and not with the material. Right. And that's what I think the problem is, that they were like, oh wait, this is off limits. No, that's like, if you came to you can't go to a football game and then say, wow, I didn't know there'd be a lot of tackling in this game. You knew what it was when you came in the door. But that's what how can you click on something, listen to it, and then be like, even though I chose to do that, I'm mad now. Right. Like, no, man, you knew it was gonna be a banger. You knew if his entire career has been built upon shock humor, going at it, whatever, and then you came into this one thinking it was something different, then like I said, you came in there hoping that he was gonna raise the rest of the earth and leave that one city alone, basically.
Well, you're looking for something to complain about. That's the difference. I think a lot of the people that go in, like you said, you already know what the person's about. You know what they're going to talk about. You know, especially this last stand-up he did, the one before that is the one that people were really getting mad about, because that's the first time he brought up the LGBTQ stuff. And then he brought it up, a second time. So people
talks about it periodically.
Right, but people are just waiting to hear what he's going to say and get mad at him. And one, that's counterproductive. Two, I think something, and there's a couple other comedians that I think approach sensitive topics well, but I think the thing that Chappelle does is he will mix his own viewpoint or questions or everything else in with the joke, but it seems more to start conversations, not built on tearing down an entire group of people. And I think, especially now and where we're at, just socially and all that kind of shit, it gets to the point where you have people that might laugh at something or might not laugh at something, but you don't know why that other person's not laughing. So then if they're like, oh, well, what made you mad? And then they can talk to you about it. You still might laugh at whatever it is because you just want to laugh at whatever, but you've got a new viewpoint or a new, kind of insight into what that person was thinking or feeling when they heard that. But I do also agree I think stand-up comedy in its purest form, people should just kind of be able to say what they want. It's a genre that's specifically built on this kind of thing, and continuing to try to censor it and make everybody only be able to talk about the same topics or, this, that, or the other. I think it dumbs it down, and it doesn't prepare us for what the actual world's going to bring to the table. Now
it does. Now it does. Like that's how the world works now. You don't like it, just complain enough and it goes away. So it's actually like kind of a really good representation of how we live life now.
Yeah, well, I hope we get away from that, because it, like you said earlier, it's kind of exhausting to go through and listen to everybody complaining about every single thing, because they don't either want to hear somebody else's side of something, or they know what they're saying. They're just actively choosing to ignore the meaning behind whatever they were trying to bring up.
Mm-hmm. So two things I want to talk about what you guys just said. One, he makes a really good joke in this one, and this is the only one that I'll tell line by line. I want to make sure you guys get the other one, but so he has a skit that he talks about. So he made a skit about saying the F word, like not okay.
One of my
that is man.
It is literally my favorite joke of the stand up. It is one of my favorite lines of any kind of haha, but seriously, this is how people. And I'll stop. But
hey, he about to put the spoiler alert. There's gonna be a couple dolphin noises in there, but you can infer what's going on.
I'm not gonna say it. You know.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not.
But dolphin noises just in case.
Yeah. So
you're gonna say one of the words, just not the other one.
I'm not gonna say none of the words.
Oh,
yeah. Wait, we've grown.
That's equality,
right? So that's the right thing to do. But anyway, so he says. So he's talking to. So he made a joke about trans people, and so he left in the F word, not okay, F word in the gay community. You guys should all know what it is. And they were like, hey, so he was like, yeah, if it's going to be a big deal, I'll take it out of the show. It's no big deal, right? They're like, hey, just take it out. You can't use that in our network. It's not okay. He's like, no big deal. But I have a question. He's like, I'm not arguing. I just want to ask you something. He said, why can I say the hard R N-word without an issue?
With impunity.
With impunity, thank you. But I can't say this word. And she was like, well, David, that's because you're not gay. And he says, well, I'm not a hard R either, actually. And then it was so visceral for me because it's one of those things that I feel like I notice a lot where you can say certain things or you can make perfect example. WWE had a skit that's in infamy where Booker T and John Cena are chilling and Vince McMahon comes up. And this is when John Cena was, rapping, whatever. So he was supposed to be like this
Doctor of Thugonomics.
Yeah. So
John Cena rapped.
Yes.
What?
He has the whole CD, bro. It's fantastic.
Come on,
it's like
bro.
a real, I could look it up right now. Real CD.
Word life.
Yes, sir.
It's basic
Is it on
Thugonomics.
Spotify?
It's on iTunes, all that stuff.
Come on, you got it in there.
John Cena, I need it.
If it wasn't in that documentary, I don't know about it.
I actually own John Cena's CD. I just want to let the record know. I went out and bought it in FYE. I bought it. It was $10. I paid for it.
Ron Artest has a CD, and it's awful.
I would not pay for Ron Artest.
I found it in a driveway.
Meta World Peace.
No, he was still Ron Artest.
Friend. Yeah. But anyways, we're talking about the joke with Dave Chappelle, how he talked about the F word. So Vince McMahon, he goes up and I guess John Cena's like, hey, what's up? And then Vince like, hey, what's up, John Cena? How you doing, champ? And then he's like, oh, nothing but G thing chilling. He's like, all right. He's like, well, let's see you later, and he says, nigga. He's like, my nigga. And then John Cena's like, all right. And then they pan over to Booker T, and Booker T's like, tell me he did not just say that. And back then it was funny. Right?
Vince McMahon said that on TV.
He said it on TV. That was an episode of Raw. He said that to John Cena. And then so John Cena's like, what the fuck? And like, it was such a visceral moment. Like when I saw it, I was like, what the fuck? And I cackled. It was so freaking funny to me. But why was that okay? Why did even the network think that was okay for even to happen? But immediately you can't say like shit. You can't say like gay. You can't say all these things. Gold Lust was taken off TV for a while, but that was okay. You know what I'm saying? It's just not okay.
I mean, it is.
When he brings a joke up, though, that happened for Chappelle's show. That wasn't one of his stand-ups.
What are you talking about?
That joke that he was making, it had to do with on the Chappelle show.
Right,
He didn't say that. I'm just wanting everybody to know.
Right.
That actually happened in the early 2000s.
So to
that wasn't even...
Yes,
right, so to explain, to come back to that. So the reason why the joke was important is because what happened is on that network, it was an episode of the Chappelle show, and the network wanted to pull it because he kept saying the F word with it, like, just, doing his thing. And then they said, hey, if you don't take this word out, we're going to pull the entire episode. And that's what started the whole, I'll take it out, but explain why I can say, hard R N-word as much as I want to,
right.
and not the word for gays. And then they say, well, because you're not gay. And he said, well, I'm not, so just to kind of put some context on it, it's because it was what he's talking about right now, the whole double standard of it. But that's the beauty of double standards. It's rules for thee, but not for me. Like, we can say it we talked about this before. It's one. It's
I'm not allowed to say anything.
That's what I'm saying. It's a flow one way, But So.
Oh, and the second thing I want to talk about,
go ahead,
is that again, it doesn't matter if you think something is funny. Somebody at the other end is the butt of the joke. You know what I'm saying? So even it's a harmless joke to you, it's not so harmless. Because just a quick example, like the whole Jimmy Kimmel thing, right, where he was being like Karl Malone, and at that time you thought it was funny, right? And be like, oh, you just doing black, like you was being already Karl Malone.
Still kind of funny.
But the problem is that when he was being Karl Malone, like yes, he was a black guy trying to be like Carmelo, but you know what people thought was fun, like, hey, he's Carmelo, like, oh yeah, look at his big lips and look at his big nose, and like they kind of perpetuate like that whole like black people look funny, and that's not okay.
So let me ask you.
I don't think
but that's not what he was doing.
Right.
Yes.
But intent, context, and intent is the most important thing. You can't say that because
the next part I was
because again
say.
he was.
Hold on, but I want to hear my bad. Let's not interrupt.
Yeah.
Let's not interrupt.
But again, that's somebody's perception. Like, yo, what the fuck? Like, why is Carmelo's nose so big? Why is his lips so, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's not okay. Now, if, again, we can kind of look at it, again, it's all based on the individual, can kind of look at it and be like, no, that was funny. He's just being Carmelo. Sure. But like, somebody else took offense to it, and who are you to say like don't be fucking offended? Like you're allowed to feel how the fuck you want to feel, and you can voice that that you have some sort of displeasure, and that's how I think we all learn as a community. It's just like, oh, you don't like that? Well, I'm sorry, dude. Like, and then try to explain your point, and then you're just like, no, man, it really still pisses me off. Like, okay, then agree to disagree, or I'll try really hard to factor in your feelings. But at the same time, like, we can't necessarily be on eggshells 24/7 trying to figure out like what's going to offend the next person. Well, you have to look for intent.
But that's just what you said, though.
You said
somebody has the right to be offended.
To be offended, yes.
But you know who the only person who had a right to be offended in that case? I just got done
saying is that you have to look for intent. So I don't necessarily agree that you could be offended, whatever. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I'm in no place to tell anyone how the fuck they should feel. If they want to be offended, that's fine, but hopefully they voice that displeasure and say like, hey, this offended me and this is why, which I feel like that's the part of cancel culture that sucks, because you can kind of just take something and one example that I like to use is like, and I know now we're going to get off topic, but Jack Sparrow, what's his name? Johnny Depp. Yeah. Johnny Depp was accused of being abusive to his wife, and then later found out his wife was actually the abuser, and he had lost his Jack Sparrow role, and people called for him to be off of the not Harry Potter. What's the other one? The Crimes of Grindelwald or
Harry Potter.
Yeah. Not Harry Potter.
No, he said
it's
Fantastic
Beast, but it's the Wizarding World of
right. But you know what I'm saying? Like people wanted his head on a pike, and then like there was no retraction for everybody that was sensationalizing like his supposed things that he did. There was no retraction. No one said like, hey, I'm sorry that we kind of pushed that you were a piece of shit when actually you're the one being abused. Like,
they
you know what I'm
gave
saying?
him his job back, and Amber Heard's not an Aquaman anymore. So there absolutely was.
Not immediately. And I'm talking about public perception.
Not in the same way. Like, I get what he's saying.
You're saying they were quick to accuse him and vilify him, but
Correct.
then it took 3 years.
It took a second for everyone to think he's a piece of shit. And it took years from everyone to like eventually be like, oh, actually, he didn't. And probably people listening right now didn't even know that.
She pooped on your bed and bit your finger off? Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So it's just context is key and intent is key, and I think we have to look for that stuff. So we can kind of still talk about that. I have notes on
go ahead, get your notes out. Get your D-Mark game on.
Actually, let's just get into 846, man. Let's just do it. Let's go and pop that off. But what were your kind of like first and like, so you guys have all seen it, right? So what are some takeaways you guys took from it?
That's a little bit, that's a tricky one because I try not to be like, being black, boo, whatever. But that's kind of the thing. Like everything he said in 846 was so commonplace and regular for me that I don't have a very strong reaction to the things that he said.
No, that's very fair.
Like I hate to be like, oh, coming from where I'm from, but literally like come from where I'm from, bullets are put into people, things like, so I don't have a very strong reaction to someone telling people stuff that they might not understand. Like, when they're like the most impactful thing in the entire 846 was the whole Don Lemon thing where he's like, because one of the things that it doesn't make much sense. The problem with how we take media now is that media is so tied to everything. I personally can't be away from my phone for longer than like 10, 15 minutes. It just makes me uncomfortable. Even if I'm not talking about I have to be looking at it. I have to just have it near me to know that the access is there. But the way we consume media now is that I hate to say it's deific. Yeah, deific. Yeah, like the people rely on stars to tell them how to feel about things. So the fact that
responsibility.
Right. So the fact that people are like, "Oh, Dave, why didn't you say woo, whatever?" And it's like that's the weirdest thing. The weirdest logic to me is that they need like someone can every day bump the same message. Like you can say, hey, someone can be like, save the turtles every day, save the turtles. And there could be a news story where a bunch of turtles got their necks stuck in little plastic rings. And I'm like,
someone please call Ja Rule and tell me how he feels about this.
Like, Ja Rule, you've been banging to save the turtles every day for the last 30 years, but some turtles got their necks stuck. Where you at? He was like, the last 30 years don't count. Like, if you just roll every single message in a compilation that I've said over the last 30 years. So the most impactful thing from that I took from that is that it's so weird the time we live in where every event happens as an isolated incident. Like if you said something yesterday, apparently it's frozen in time. It doesn't count toward today, whatever, because he's like, yeah, I've been on that. You know what I'm saying? He said, I've been showing. Chappelle's show wasn't untrue. It wasn't fiction. It's just an exaggeration of real life.
Right.
It's just an exaggeration of what we go through all the time. So the fact that people realistically need him to come out and say, like the whole J. Cole thing where they're like, J. Cole, you should be a leader in our community. And J. Cole was like,
you can't be talking about bitches and hoes.
Right. And J. Cole was like, yeah, I just rap and also don't read a lot. So I don't feel like I'm impactful, to this movement because I don't really live in that way. And I can't believe it. I'm like, what? You can't believe people are people? You can't believe, so 846 kind of showed me personally, like I said, just because I don't have a strong reaction to it, because everything he just, people get put down sometimes. People get, I know it's depressing to talk like, that, you've seen one dude die, you've seen a bunch of dudes die, you know what I'm saying? So, the way that he speaks, I'm like, yeah, it's just regular stuff. Like, I don't know, why is it so crazy to other people that when stuff happens, there always has to be an outcry. Like an event can't just be like, yeah, this is a problem. What are we doing about the problem? Like, no, you got to speak on this exact event. It's like, the problem, it should be spoken on.
Right.
If I have to speak on something every time it happens, it falls on deaf ears. If you cry wolf every single day, eventually people just get, like they just don't care and you're going to get eaten, when the thing actually comes through. And that's kind of what I took from that. I know it sounds silly to take such a small thing from the entirety of that, but the way people speak on things, media personalities aren't gods. They're not, they're not to be held to a higher standard. He's been saying the same thing forever through everything. Every special, every show, every comment he's ever made is always the same. So why would you ever require, hey, Hitler's still bad? Yep. Okay, I'll check with you tomorrow. No, he's still going to be the same tomorrow, so why are you worried about it?
I don't think he, and I guess I'm going to disclaimer this. Everything that comes out of my mouth is my opinion and my viewpoint. No, it's not bad. I'm just saying.
Mm-hmm. That's what you say every time.
That. Anybody who has to say that before anything is going to say something spicy.
I'm not racist, but
it's not. Well,
I'm not saying all black people are stupid, but why do you guys look like that? Like, I don't.
Yep. But what are you going to say?
Why is that funny?
Yeah, why are you laughing
at that so hard?
Yeah, why are you
I didn't
so
laugh
hard?
at anything. I have too much control over the editing process. It's going to look.
Oh, that's fair.
It's fine.
I'm going to look like an idiot now.
What are you laughing for? Be like, what are you talking about? And then I've superimposed a just stonewall face, and it's like there's nothing there, and you're like, what are you laughing at?
Mountain Dew. Jesus.
But I don't know. I think he waited so long, and I don't think he made it for the black community. I don't think 826 was made like
846.
846. Sorry.
It's good.
Sorry.
It's all good.
I'm really bad at.
It's all good.
It's a Chinese version of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bootleg. It's a bootleg version.
Yeah.
Copyright. Yeah, they changed one number. It's fine. I think he made it because people were looking to him, and I don't think celebrities should have that much. And he says that multiple times, that celebrities shouldn't have that much power, and the streets are saying something. Obviously, he trusts them because they're the living embodiment of some of the shit he's been talking about. But I mean, we're a nation who really did elect a fucking reality star to office with the appalling shit that he did during his campaign, the appalling shit that he's continued to do. The man got impeached. I mean, we live in a country that really does put celebrities and shit like that, or people they feel have a platform, on a higher standard. So you could have the exact same opinion as Dave Chappelle, but it doesn't matter because you don't mean as much. So I think he decided to drop this, and I think it's really weird that Netflix didn't go ahead and just put it on their main platform. I don't know if that actually irritates me or not, that they only released it on some streaming comedy thing, right? Like it was
I think
their
it's because
YouTube.
he didn't make a lot of jokes in it. So
it wasn't necessarily comedy.
It was probably gonna be a throwaway.
Yeah, but you see all these people whenever all this shit come out that are like, we stand with our black community, and then you have Dave Chappelle come out like
that's a businesses. That's literally like
I know, but I'm just saying the complaint
as soon as
there
July
is
1st hit, those rainbow flags are gone, boyo. Right, you know.
But it's still June, so you know. But so maybe they did it for the LGBTQ community because it's still June, so we'll get it in July since they all hate Dave Chappelle. But I think he made it because he got to the point where he felt it was time for him to say something. He had waited, you know, a month before he said anything, and I think you go back and you see all these interactions that people have like white people talking to Dave Chappelle and trying to tell him the same shit that every like systemic racism is not real and you guys don't know what you're talking about and all this other shit. And he is a very big, proponent of after you've listened to me and been educated, you know, now you see it my way. You can be part of the solution. Don't be part of the problem anymore. So I think he is he's an apathetic motherfucker. If he doesn't want to do something, he doesn't want to do it. Like, he's just like, fuck you, I'm not going to do it. Jon Stewart told that story about how he was like, hey, we're going to go talk to the Wounded Warriors. You haven't been doing comedy in a long time. You know, they love your DVDs. What do you say you just come with me and we, you know, blow the roof off of that place and surprise them? He's like, I don't want to.
I'm like, no, I'm good.
He's like, no, I'm good. So I don't think he does anything that he doesn't want to do, which I think it makes it more important that he decided to do something. But I think he honestly did it because in his mind, he wants to say, hey, come be part of the solution with me. And here's, you know, after Candace Owen and like the Hodge twins and all these people are putting shit online about, you know, this is all a myth, it's not real, and they're only using it to gain their own, you know, notoriety and make money off of it. I think that's kind of what pushed him to the cliff, was seeing white people be like, oh, well, I found black people that agree with me. So obviously,
like what you just did earlier with the Tim thing.
Well, it was a joke, but
sure, now it's a joke.
Yeah,
it was a joke, but but yeah, it's very similar to what I did earlier with the Jamie thing, where, you know, one black person agreed with me, so I must be correct and not insensitive or whatever.
Exactly.
But yeah, so I think you'll have people who have D-Mark's take on it. That's like, this is life. I don't need to hear this dude talk this shit. And then you're gonna have all these other people that listen to him like, oh my God, maybe this is a bigger deal than I thought it was, because, you know, I like Dave Chappelle and I've liked Dave Chappelle's shit. And I'm not saying that's the right way to do it. I'm just saying I think he had some shit to get off of his chest. And I think that's why it was important for him to release it, because now he's like, hey, I can't listen to all this ignorant shit come through. I'm going to say what I want to say and we're going to go from there. Because it was really short too. It was like 26 minutes, like the whole show. And most of his stand-ups are an hour to an hour 20. So, you know, obviously he wanted to make a point and not be funny.
So my interpretation of 846. So I think he was fully intended on making jokes and having like a regular stand-up thing. But he kind of got caught into the moment. There were some moments where he was, you know, like he was like, I got some pussy jokes written down too. You know, I promise I'll get to them, and he'll make some jokes here and there or whatever. And I think that the part of his genius is that he doesn't have to try to be funny. He just is. He can just say anything. And I think one of the old specials where he was trying to make he was like, I want to say pussy juice. How can I tie that into a punchline? And he's like, I got to figure it out. And he went through the whole like spiel, and he actually made the punchline. But so I think he was doing the whole thing where he was just going to make a moment, just like talk about it, but he just got so emotional and started just kind of riffing and talking about the things that he wanted to talk about, and, you know, even talk about, you know, like, oh, Candace Owens and a stinky pussy. I don't know that it stink, but, you know, I just think it does.
But if I find out, I'll let y'all know.
Like Azalea Banks, I'll tell. And it was great because she was talking shit about him, so he kind of like threw a little jab. Yeah. So like you can tell he's socially aware, and actually, I have a very, very similar take from D-Mark, is that he was saying things that just rung true. Like he was just preaching to the choir, as far as to me. And I think a lot of people that were in the audience as well. But he wanted to kind of just say his piece. And he, like I said, he even mentioned like, I wasn't going to say shit, but like, you know, fuck it. Like because he's been saying all these things. Nothing that he said in 846 isn't anything. You can go look at any one of his specials. Fuck, even Sticks and Stones, he talks about like how like the only way we're gonna get the gun laws to change is that if every single African American goes and gets their fucking gun license, because the only time they made an amendment, the NRA opposed, like actually wanted some strengthened gun laws, was when the Black Panthers showed up with AK-47s, and he talked about that. But he talked about that fucking 2009 or 2018.
Yeah.
He also made a mention about that years ago also. So it's just like him calling back to say, Nick, I've been talking about this stuff. I've been saying this is a problem. I've been saying that, like black people don't get any love, or he mentioned now, like, he's living through a world that wasn't necessarily meant for him to succeed or meant for him to receive love, right? He's always going to be one step behind. I think, we kind of already talk about that a lot, where, people of color, they start the race, way farther back than white people and stuff like that. And he mentions that kind of stuff too. But the thing that really stood out to me is just how much attention to detail he has. And so when he's talking about,
it's incredible.
It's fantastic. I feel like I also obsess over details. But he definitely shows he's in a different level. And he has a lot of time to think and reflect. And when he's comparing to 846 was the time that he was born, and 824 is his birthday, and it's, Kobe's number, just he's tying everything back. And if you appreciate a good story, one of the things that I like in life, like reason why I watch anime and stuff like that, is I love a good story. And the reason why Dave Chappelle is so captivating to me is that he's just a fantastic storyteller. His jokes, the way he delivers it, just from his inflections to his emotions to how he takes you to the story, he ties something from the very beginning to the very end. It's just top tier. And the fact that he kind of called to that, and not only that, but used that superpower of his of having that detail orientedness that he has, to be able to say, look at all this shit, and he calls back to how he actually had. How I think he said his parent, again, I don't want to ruin anything too much for you guys, but how he was talking about how George Floyd was calling for his dead mother, and how he only witnessed that one other time, and that's not something that's normal and stuff like that. And I don't want to get into that too much, but just his storytelling is fantastic, and I couldn't say anything, but I was just so happy that he said something, and that he said these things, and he was unapologetic, and you can just tell when he was just you know what, fuck it, I'm out of here, and his demeanor, he was just fucking, this isn't fun, no one's coming to pay and hear me rant, but everyone still appreciated it for what it was. But you can tell, it's to me at least, that he didn't plan on doing those things. He really wasn't gonna make some jokes, or try out some stuff he's been working on. But he just got so caught up with how he felt, and got so emotional, and he was talking about man, the streets are talking. I don't gotta say shit. It's you shouldn't have to look for anywhere else. You shouldn't have to look for anyone else to tell you what the fuck is going on. And it's funny because I kind of want to make this joke. So I saw a meme about Bobby Hill, where somebody had made a joke I am white and this is the first I'm hearing about this. So give me some details. So the whole joke was it was black issues and black problem. And then Bobby was saying oh, I just so happen to be white. Tell me more about these things. And that's kind of how I feel. All of a sudden it's 2020 and white people are damn, y'all have all these injustices. Y'all got all these problems and all these things that are racist. Can you tell me more about that? Cause I had zero idea, but we've been living all of our lives. And we have Chappelle Show, and we have all this shit that talks about black struggle and black issues and books and articles and whatever. And people are just I didn't know about these things. I didn't know about, black poverty and
but you,
this,
okay, but hold on,
other.
but you say it mockingly, right?
Yeah.
So are you more mad at you don't believe those people?
No.
That they didn't know, or are you saying that they should have known?
Well, you know what the sad part is? Not even sad, but I think the crazy part for me is that I totally believe people when they say they had no idea. I totally believe it, because I think we are so used to not wanting to rock the boat, or not even necessarily offend, but it goes back to what I was saying. People should be allowed to say I don't like this thing. You know what I'm saying? I think we went a lot, especially me. I always make the joke I want reparations of clout. I used to always be made fun of for liking anime and liking rock music, and now for whatever reason everybody's I love anime. What? Well, Killers Engage, let's go. Where was that energy in middle school? Where was the energy in high school? All of a sudden everybody like anime, everybody like video games, everybody like comic books. Where was the energy before? We're what you doing, man? You ain't throwing this football? Why are you reading comic books? Why you watching anime? Why aren't you watching ESPN only? You know what I'm saying? I make that a joke, but that's actually what happened. Like every day, like I made a comment earlier where like there was, like I told you guys, I used to live in New York, and it was.
You used to live in New York?
I used to live in New York City, in case you guys didn't know that. But
with your robots? I
did not live with robots. Actually, I want to tell so many stories. But I used to live in New York, and I used to make. I told my girl about how I didn't necessarily know a lot of white people. Not necessarily like I was like my classroom was mostly like Hispanics and blacks. There were some white people here and there, but usually if people were fair skinned or light skinned, like it was probably like an Argentinian or some sort of Hispanic. It wasn't like a straight white person. Just where I grew up, right? And then so when I got plucked out of New York City, Manhattan, Washington Heights, uptown, and go to like, bumfuck Cornfield, Indiana, and I get put into a neighborhood that was pretty much all white, it was pretty visceral for me. But at the same time, like it was probably visceral for other people because they didn't necessarily have like a Hispanic friend that wasn't like Mexican. So that was the other thing. People would be like, hey, you're Mexican, right? Like, no, I'm not. And it was so weird. Like, so you're not black, you're not Mexican. What the fuck are you? And that was my life. Like for 10 years, it's explaining to people like, hey, there's something else, believe it or not. And that's something that I lived through, And then so it kind of comes back to like, white people being like, oh, like tell me about these problems. Like they just had no idea for whatever reason. And I don't necessarily blame them, necessarily, it's not even a blame in general, but like, it's just so crazy. Like all these things, like you can be like, I had no idea, but also like, I didn't necessarily know like even what racism was in a sense until I lived here. But then I start thinking back about all my experiences and kind of like, hey, you can't walk this, you can't go this direction, or you can't be in this neighborhood, or you can't be out too late. And like the little things you kind of get taught throughout your life, you need to necessarily think about why people were telling you these things, right? And I think the other side, like white people have the same thing where like they were kind of like maybe say like, hey, don't do this, don't talk about this, don't do that. And you're kind of groomed to kind of like live the life that we live now, right? So you kind of go around life with some blinders, and all of a sudden, like we have this internet boom, and you can talk to somebody from China and Asia and from California to Montana, and then we just start exchanging ideals, quicker than we ever have. And now people are just like, whoa, this is not an isolated incident. Like I talk about Twitter all the time where like I was for the longest time the only Kill Switch Engage fan that existed for whatever reason, because every single person I talk to, like, who the fuck? Why you what? I don't listen to that.
I like Kill
stuff,
Switch Engage,
which is really funny. I think we might have like talked about it, but I never necessarily explained my fandom to you, mostly because everyone that I spoke to always gave me a negative reaction. White people, black people, whatever. They're like, whatever. It was great. So you see like a Hawaiian-looking Hispanic, which is super confusing. Because at one point,
metal was nobody's scene.
No,
so you just
wanted
to hang out with other people that liked metal.
Yeah, and so I make a joke about Twitter where like I remember like I was like, oh yeah, I like Kill Switch Engage, and like everyone's like, dude, me too. That's fucking great. And we had like this whole thing about End of Heartache, My Curse, and how great Howard Jones is. And I was like, I've never had that experience ever. Because I've been so used to people saying like, oh no, or like, if it's either like, why do you like that? Or like, whatever, and never like a positive reaction. I just stopped talking about it. But it's stuff that I didn't even think about until like I started putting the pieces together. You know what I'm saying? So Dave Chappelle, he does a lot of that stuff where he mentions a lot of things, and he's been doing stand-up for how long? How long has he been doing stand-up?
32 years.
Was like, what? Yeah,
it's 32 years.
Yeah, and he's been talking about the same shit. For the same shit, and he has black, white, Asian, Chinese fans.
But think about how many more. That's why I think this is, more one of the more impactful things that he's probably done recently, because Netflix is such a huge platform, right? Like if you didn't have cable, you weren't watching the Chappelle Show.
And you say the same about YouTube.
That's kind of, yeah, but YouTube doesn't have all the same like rights that Netflix has. Like everybody has Netflix. If you ask me YouTube shit, YouTube to me is
everybody
still
has YouTube now too, literally.
Right, but I'm saying, YouTube. but you talk to people.
Anonymous, I understand.
You say YouTube to me, I'm thinking fucking the Maya
memes and shit. Yeah,
like just that shit. Like I forget constantly that YouTube is actually a media based platform for all kinds of shit.
Right,
which is funny since we're doing things and we want people to watch our YouTube. Right. But
go to our YouTube channel, WhenAw3someCollides.
But I think over the past, his first one came out, he left. So like 2004. He left for like 12 years, right? So Dave Chappelle didn't show back up till like 2016, 2017. And the first thing he did really was a big Netflix special. So I think he got a lot more fans than what he had in the early 2000s and the 90s. And so for him to do something like this, it was a bit more poignant and a little bit more just like he was exhausted having to go through it again. But I think he'll honestly reach more people this way that, again, just for whatever reason didn't know. And I think that is why, for me, I wish they would have released it on Netflix because more people would have seen it. But I think his fan base. I
disagree.
I think his fan base is more diverse now than what it was in the 90s and early 2000s. So I think as a country that looks to media personalities, and he even says it, he's like, you all trust me. I sit here and I say, I don't know why I need to say something. I need to say something. He's like, you trust me. You trust that what I'm saying
and that I won't lie to you
is valid. Yeah. I'm not out here. This isn't, I have more money than I need. I have more notoriety than I could ever ask for. I'm saying this because this is what I feel and this is what I think. And then he backs everything up with facts,
right?
Which is why he's so impactful, because he starts saying, hey, here are all of the, black people that have died from police brutality. And I didn't think, I listened to it today, and it was kind of funny because I had a conversation with my dad, I don't know, like a week.
Is he white?
Yeah.
Your dad? Okay. Just for the viewers that may not know.
Oh, you mean the viewers that might not know that I'm white?
Yeah. For listeners, yeah.
Okay. Hey, listeners, my entire family's super white.
Oh, okay, cool.
Perfect.
Just want to make sure everybody knew.
In 2020? Wow.
2020, bro.
If I could go to the tanning salon and they're like, hey, we can hide you, I'd be like, I might be about that right now. Like, just hide in the shadows a little bit.
Hey, that's fair. Like the Underground Railroad, but for like white people. Like, hey.
Shout out Beethoven.
Yeah,
hey,
see, he
okay.
did it.
Yeah.
He did it. But then I get yelled at because, I can't be Karl Malone. But
yeah,
I mean, you could if you tried hard enough.
No, I had a conversation with my dad, and he was in no way. He's very much look at both sides of the coin, and I think that's a good way to look at things. But being ex-military, he does side a little bit more with law enforcement and stuff like that.
Right,
and he was bringing up some of those police killings that had happened 10 years ago or whatever, where the cops were sitting in cars and somebody came up and shot them and all that kind of stuff. And when Dave Chappelle actually brought that up, I had never looked into it any more than what the media had given me. It was always, there's a psycho out there killing cops because he wants to kill cops and all this other. I had no idea it was an ex-LAPD officer who was former military and been kicked out of the police force because he had put a complaint in on somebody who he believed had used excessive force, and he went through the law and tried to get everything back, and then he ended up basically just breaking and saying, well, clearly these guys aren't about law and order, and I was trained that if you're not about law and order, you're an enemy to the state, and that's why he killed them. But to this day, I still didn't know that.
That was his interpretation. No one actually knows, but
right. That's another viewpoint and more information on a story that all I had heard is police families are terrorized across the country, even though it was only there. And then they were talking about like the police dying in Texas and all that, and how it was all ex-military. And there's just like, no, cops are waging war on us. We're going to wage a war back. And I think giving information and giving perspective that way is another reason that this was such an interesting thing for him to do. And it's smart for him to do it the way he's doing it, because if you don't back things up with facts and it all sounds super opinion based, nobody's going to listen to it past it. They're all going to try to poke holes and all that kind of shit. And I think that's part of the intellect behind whenever. I don't think Chappelle opens his mouth if what he's saying isn't something that he either believes or knows, to be true, kind of thing. I don't know.
Yeah. No, yeah, for sure. You have anything you want to touch on 846, bro? No. So just kind of wrap this up. I know we've been talking for a little bit now, but I definitely I'm a huge fan of Dave Chappelle. I really hope that comedy doesn't go away. I think a lot of stuff that we do here is kind of, in essence, what he kind of does. We take a lot of social issues that we see, a lot of life experiences, and we kind of make fun, make jokes and stuff like that. And I think, we use people like, Dave Chappelle, Joe Rogan, all those people that make light of social injustices or social issues and make jokes, makes laugh, just laugh a little bit. I think we do a lot of that stuff here. And I hope that, that in the current social climate, we can still have that and not necessarily have to worry about like who we're going to offend. Like, always look for positive intent, but at the same time, it's up to you. If you decide that, bing, bing, bing is offensive to you, or pow, pow, make it known. But at the same time, like, understand, like, we're here to make you laugh. We're here to make you hopefully not cry. And
no, you can't backpedal now, bro. Go back to episode 1.
Please.
Nah,
oh yeah,
I'm
no,
not here to
fuck your
make you-
opinion. Yeah, fuck your opinion. I'm not here to fucking, I need God, I need Jesus, all that shit, so, but no, and all jokes aside, man, we're here to make you laugh. We're all going to talk about some serious shit too. And hopefully, this was enjoyable for y'all. And if you have not caught the 846 episode, it is on YouTube. All the stuff we talked about.
Also on Spotify. Like, that's how I listened to it today. The whole thing.
Right? Okay.
It's on Spotify. That's how I listened to it in my car. So nobody has an excuse to not go listen to this.
Yeah, just like our podcast. We actually have it on Apple Podcasts. We have it on Spotify, YouTube, shit, Podbean, all that shit. So support your boys. Support black culture. Support black entertainment. Support my nuts. All that shit.
You want to tell him before we leave that I'm not really a racist?
No, he's definitely
that remains
racist.
to be seen. We're gonna go ahead and leave that up to the viewers.
Yeah. We have a lot of shows to prove that we are right and you are full of shit and you are a racist. So hopefully as time goes on, you guys we're not canceled and you guys enjoy what we have to do here. So
hey, again, follow us on YouTube. It's WhenAw3someCollides, all one word. It's WhenAw3 SOMECOLLIDES. You can find us on, the only thing that's different is our Twitter. It's WA3C tweets. So again, hey, spread this around, let people know that if you enjoyed this, if you hated it, that's fine too. Leave us comments, leave us feedback, help us get better. Catch us again next week when we talk about another delicious, spicy subject. Like I said, we are going to give us some time. We are going to definitely fill up the whole content coffers. You guys are not going to be starved for content. We're gonna go ahead and pump this out for you guys. So hey, thanks for joining us from episode 1 if you started there, episode 2 if you started there, till now. Again, much love. Oh, the outro.